Thank you very much for that very amazing discussion, Miss Juneda. So now we move on to our next discussant. She is also taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Sciences, currently a third-year student at Sorsogon State University. It is my honor to present to you our next reporter, Miss Harlet A. Lagidao.
Thank you for that introduction, Ms. Lariosa. Okay, so I am tasked to have a discussion on the nature and characteristics of portfolio and authentic assessment in our subject course, Assessment and Learning 2. But before I start the discussion, it would be of so much honor for me to introduce the members of the group who have fulfilled their task to successfully craft this presentation and for me to be able to present the topic and information to all of you. I am the group's presenter. I am Harlet A. Lagidao, and this discussion will not be possible without our facilitator, Mr. Labayani, and our researchers, Ms. Lariosa and Ms. Kira. Now, to begin the discussion, let me first introduce to you the topic. The practice of developing portfolio has been widely used in several fields for many years, such as in architecture, advertising, art, and photography, which mainly includes the person's best work. Well, accordingly, in education, portfolio has become widely used in the basic and tertiary level, which is utilized as one of the many procedures for formally assessing the students. It has become very useful in developing creativity and talents of the students, which allows them to support the claim that have achieved learning outcomes. With all this significance of portfolio in different fields, especially in the field of education, we may want to ask, what is a portfolio? Now, to define, portfolio is a systematic process and purposeful collection of student work to document the student learning progress, efforts, and achievement towards the attainment of learning outcomes. It is a systematic process in the sense that it follows a well-organized collection of products of student work, in which there are guidelines that are given to be satisfied by the students for the purpose of continuous evaluation and reflection on their work. We all know that portfolios can be used for many purposes. Now, to be specific on these purposes, we may want to ask why. Why do we use portfolios? Okay, so fortunately, I have here a list of purposes that portfolio aims to serve in the academe. Firstly, portfolio gives students the opportunity to direct their own learning, in which, through the use of portfolio, students can document their efforts, achievement, development, and growth in knowledge, skills, expressions, and attitude. And this will allow them to use a variety of learning styles, modalities, and intelligences. And it will also be of great importance in the assessment of their own learning and decide which items best represent their achievement and growth that will surely and definitely will help them to set their future learning goals. Secondly, portfolios can be used to determine students' level of achievement. This means that portfolios allow students to present a holistic view of their academic achievements, skills, and outcomes, which will also allow them to present their work over a period of time and show their progress in achieving learning outcomes. Thirdly, portfolios can be used to understand how students think, reason, organize, investigate, and communicate. In that sense, portfolios can provide insight into students' reasoning and intellectual competencies by documenting students' progression of thought and work in achieving their learning goals. Another purpose of portfolio is that it can be used to communicate students' efforts and progress toward accomplishing learning goals and accomplishments, meaning portfolio allows students to present their work as a whole in relation to standards and criteria to to peers, teachers, parents, college admission officers, and so forth. And lastly, portfolios can be used to evaluate and improve our curriculum and instruction, and it is a fact that portfolios provide a broad view on the effectiveness of the curriculum and instruction, which thereby allows teacher to improve and enhance their instructional methods and curriculum materials. Now let us discuss the characteristics of portfolio. First characteristic is that learning outcomes define what to include and how to utilize portfolio. Secondly, there should be a clear reason of what to include and how portfolio is to be utilized. And lastly, purposes and targets must be constructively aligned to the teaching and learning activities and assessment as well. As for the conclusion of my whole discussion, indeed, one big contribution of portfolio is to give the students the chance to reflect and revisit on their performance over time. We all know that life in school is an ongoing process of submitting paperwork, productions, and performances, and each day, students experience a variety of school tasks which measure the different learners' cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. Thus, collecting the students' work retain all these experiences for subsequent reflection and analysis. And through the use of portfolios, students are regularly asked to examine how they've succeeded or failed or improved on a task or set of goals for future work or set of activities, in which no longer is the learning just about the final product, evaluation, or grade, but becomes more focused on students developing metacognitive skills that will enable them to reflect upon and make adjustments in their learning in school and beyond. Okay, so I think that ends my discussion, and I hope you gained essential knowledge and takeaways from my presentation. And if ever you have questions and additional information, click the link attached in the presentation and message or email us. Thank you very much for watching.
So thank you so much, Ms. Harlat Lagidao, for that very concise yet detailed discussion about the nature and characteristics of a portfolio. So now, we will proceed to another topic, which is analyzing the key components of a portfolio, or what are the key components needed in a portfolio, to be discussed by Ms. Gladys Glomar, BSED-Sciences 3A.
Good day! Today, we are going to learn about analyzing the key components of portfolios. And every portfolios must obtain these following essential elements. First, we have the cover letter. Second, we have the table of contents. We also have the entries, dates, drafts, and reflections. Let's find out what are these elements. First, we have the cover letter. A cover letter is about the author. It summarizes the evidence of the student's learning and progress. Second is table of contents. It includes the titles and its specific page, and it is usually found before the start of the portfolio. It also gives the reader an overview of the content of the portfolio, and moreover, it allows the reader to go directly to a specific entry by looking at its page number. Third is entries. It is both core and optional. When you say core, it is a requirement for us students, and it provides a common base in making decisions on assessment. While optional items will allow folder to represent uniqueness on each student. Students can choose to include the best pieces of work, but also a piece of work that is less successful, and give the reasons why. Fourth is dates. On all entries, date is important because it facilitates proof of growth over time. Fifth is drafts. Drafts might be a draft of oral or a written product or a revised version. Example of this is first draft or first revised version. Last is reflections. Reflections can appear at different stages of the learning process. It might be a formative or a summative purposes. At the lower level, it can be written in a mother tongue by those students who feel difficult in expressing themselves in English. It explains the significance of individual works and brings us on someone else's thinking and captures the best and the worst moment of the learning process. Also, in each item, a short rationale for choosing the item must be included. Moreover, reflections can relate to students' performance and their feelings on their progress and or themselves as a learner. The students can reflect upon these questions. What did I learn from it? What did I do well? Why did I choose this item? What do I want to improve in the item? How do I feel about my performance? What were the problem areas? So these questions will help you to reflect on your portfolios. And that will be all. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will be learning about the different types and uses of portfolio as a communication medium. Ms. Camille Hoben will introduce to us our keynote speaker to further elaborate and discuss the topic.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Ms. April Bolaños from Sorsogon State University.
Thank you, Camille. Hello, everyone. Proceeding to the different types and uses of a portfolio. There are actually 3 basic types to consider for classroom use. The first one is called a working portfolio. This is also known as teacher-student portfolio. This involves the various works in progress, daily activities, and even the finished products. This is primarily intended for teachers and students to reflect in the process. In this way, this can be used to document stages of learning and determine students' needs. This also serves as evidence of students' strengths and weaknesses in relation to learning objectives and is considered extremely useful in crafting future instructions. Second one is a showcase portfolio, which is also referred to as best works portfolio or a display portfolio. This focuses on students' best and most representative outputs and exhibits the best performance. In this case, it encourages self-assessment and enhances self-esteem in the part of the students. The pride, the rewarding feeling, and sense of accomplishment make their efforts worthwhile. Thus, influence the culture of learning. The last one is a progress portfolio. This is also known as the Teacher Alternative Assessment Portfolio. This contains samples of students' works with the same type done over a period of time. This is mainly intended to assess students' progress. All the outputs involved are scored, rated, ranked, and evaluated. And that's it for the different types of a portfolio in a classroom setting. Meanwhile, teachers can keep individual student portfolios that are purely for the teacher's use as an assessment tool. This is a focused type of portfolio and considered a model approach to assessment. Now, let's talk about the uses of a portfolio. For number 1, it helps teachers in evaluating students' learning progress through comparing early work from later work, thus providing both formative and summative opportunities. For the second one, it is used to review students' work. Why is there a need to review students' work? In order to determine if they have met the established learning standards in a particular course or subject, and for the teachers to make notes on how to further improve their instruction for the succeeding periods. Number 3, students can use it as a means to make personal reflections of their academic goals and progress. Number 4, it is used to serve learning evidences showcasing students' achievements or learning outcomes. Number 5, it is used to facilitate communication between teachers and parents regarding their child's achievements and progress in a certain period of time. Hence, this only implies that portfolios does not only allows communication between teachers and students but also with the parents. Number 6, portfolios may be assembled for combination of purposes such as instructional enhancement and progress documentation. And the last one, the administrator may use portfolios for national competency testing to grant high school credit to evaluate education programs. This only implies that portfolios does not only reflect students' learning, but how effective teaching strategies and methods are, the quality of education, and the quality of institution in general. All in all, we can say that portfolio plays a vital part in conducting assessment, not just in reflecting students' learning and capabilities, but most of all of students' developments and progress, which can be essential tools for teachers in further refining and improving their strategies and instructions for the benefits and advantages not just of students but of the whole institution.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Let us not forget those 3 types of portfolio, which are the working, showcase, and progress portfolio. So now let us proceed to the next topic, which is the e-portfolio, to be given to us by Miss Edsel Brioso.
This is Edsel Brioso, your presenter, and I will discuss about e-portfolio. What really e-portfolio is? E-portfolio is a collection of work or an evidences in an electronic format. It is important to think carefully about its purpose, and you must know the intended audience. Actually, it may contain the files of various formats. It could be a text, a picture, an artwork, or a video. It could be an evidences related to your course, a projects prepared for class, an evidence of creativity and performance, and it could be an evaluations, assessments, and recommendations. There are actually 3 types of e-portfolio. The first one is the showcase or the professional e-portfolios. These e-portfolios are primarily a way to demonstrate or to showcase the highlights of the students about their career or performances. The second one is the learning e-portfolio. This is a type of e-portfolio that is typically created by a student as a part of a course, as a way to demonstrate learning and the learning process. And this is actually shared to other students. Why? Because we know receiving a feedback is one of an effective learning processes. The third one is the assessment, or what we call a general e-portfolios. This type of e-portfolio serves as an assessment in a general education competencies. This is demonstrated through a formative and summative assessment feedback as an evidence. Now, we already have discussed about the 3 types of e-portfolio. Now, how could you tell? That an e-portfolio is a good one? Actually, it is based on a product. It is about the collection of artifacts of evidences digitally. It is how an individual reflects on it and presents it. We are all familiar with LMS, or Learning Management System, right? Actually, LMS, e-portfolio also supports student learning. Where they do differ, it is in 2 key ways. The first one is the ownership. The second one is the control in a university. Now, let us compare the 2. LMS is owned and controlled. Let us compare the 2. LMS is owned and controlled or managed by the instructors who decides and has access on it. Meanwhile, e-portfolios is where a student is in charge. A student can decide who can view their e-portfolios, their activities. And although after they have graduated, what's good in e-portfolio is that although they have already graduated, it will remain as their own property. According to BSED of 2008, e-portfolios are a way to generate learning as well as to document learning. Why? Because e-portfolios provide an opportunity for a student. Why? Because e-portfolios provide an opportunity for a student. It gives a virtual space. Because e-portfolios provide an opportunity and give students a virtual space to critically assess their work, to reflect from it, and to make connections among courses. E-portfolio actually fall in a learning theory, and this learning theory is known as social constructivism. It is where the students make the learning visible, and it helps the instructors to establish the learning expectations, as well as it scaffold the student learning. Thank you.